Welcome to Waters in the Wilderness, a teaching ministry of Hoshana Rabbah Biblical Resources, where we connect Yeshua the Messiah and the gospel message with its pro-Torah Hebraic roots. This is your host, Nathan Lawrence, thanking you for joining me in another adventure as we dive deeply into the Word of Elohim. And today's message is entitled, Right Choices Lead to a Bright Future. Tomorrow's World Revealed Today. Well, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This is Nathan Lawrence, Hoshana Rabbah. And today is Shemini Atzeret. Most of you probably may have heard that $10 Hebrew word, and it's translated as the eighth day. We have just passed through or completed the 7 days of the Feast of Tabernacles, or Sukkot, and now we are celebrating the eighth day. Sadly, a lot of Hebraic, Torah, Messianic type people don't know a lot about this day. It is a commanded assembly. You can read about it in Leviticus 23. So I'm not going to read the passages, but in Leviticus 23 it lists all the biblical feasts, and it lists the Feast of Tabernacles as lasting from the 15th day of the 7th month through the 21st day of the 7th month. And then there is a separate, totally different feast, separate from the Feast of Tabernacles. It's, if you will, tacked on to the end of the Feast of Tabernacles, but it's a separate moed or divine appointment, and it's called a Sabbath, and it's also a commanded assembly. So we are here gathered together on this day. We are doing this live via Zoom, and for those of you watching this video later, we have a live Zoom meeting with people. I'm looking at them right now. Hi, everybody. And on my computer screen from around the country and around the United States and several foreign countries. And so this is a very important day. And we talked about this. This is part 2 of a teaching I gave a week ago on the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles, which is also a high holy day Sabbath. And so I pondered and asked Yah, what do you want me to talk about? There are so many things that these things represent, but I'm going to start at the end, and I'm going to go back to the beginning and then work our way forward. So hang on, this is going to be another one of those overview, big picture, aerial pictures. A lot of people have a lot of knowledge about a lot of things in the Bible, narrow little parts and pieces, but they don't necessarily know how everything fits in. So I want to talk, share some information, share some of my own personal experiences, and then an appeal to young people. This is a message in part to young people. So I hope that any of you that have young people in your life, that maybe you can gather them together and they can hear this message. I'm an older man now. I'm actually, but I was young at one time. And so I can speak with authority about that part of my life. And now I am actually not in my normal studio, if you will. I don't really have a studio, but I take what I have and I make a studio out of it at my home. But I'm actually in North Dakota at my son-in-law and daughter's house, and we're visiting our grandchild who will be turning 1 in several days. And we're, as I'm playing with my grandson, little Elliot, I am rejoicing and experiencing my own youth all over again. And it makes me think about young people and the beauty of youth. And we're going to talk about that. This is a message of hope and a message that I want to encourage young people to grab a hold of what I'm about to say. Just because I'm an older man, I'll be 66 here in about 2 months, a little less than 2 months, but I am young at heart. I'm very active. I'm very involved. I'm involved in my children and my family and their lives, and very actively involved in a lot of endeavors in life. I'm not in any way, shape, or form retired. I'm very active in the business world, and I'm out there, out and about, doing all kinds of things. So I'm young at heart, even though I'm an older man. And so I want to talk about what this day, Shemini Atzeret, which literally is a Hebrew word that means the eighth day, Shemini Atzeret, or the eighth assembly. Shemini is the term meaning eight, and Atzeret is literally an assembly, or like people getting together. And 8 is the number of new beginnings in the world and in the Bible. 8, 7 is the number of completion, and 8 is the new beginnings. In fact, if you put the letter 8 together, like this, like that, that's also the symbol for infinity. And indeed, 8, or Shemini Atzeret, is basically the very end of the Bible. It represents that period of time at the end of the millennium, at the end of man's 7,000 years here on this earth, going into what the Jews call olam haba, or the age to come, or eternity. And it's the time when the new heavens and the new earth are going to come. Let's read what the Bible, in several places it talks about new heavens and the new earth. And again, this is something that the Christian church doesn't talk about. I don't think they really know where to plug this into their theology, much of which is kind of fantasy. Not all of it. The basic gospel message is not fantasy, but a lot of, when it comes to eschatology or the order of end time events and eternity, it's based on a lot of fantasy. And so I'm not going to get into that, but we're just going to focus on what the Bible says. So in Psalm 102, and I brought my little travel Bible with me. When you're traveling on an airplane, we had to fly to Minneapolis, and then we rented a car and came from Minneapolis over to Minot, North Dakota. My big Bible weighs about 5 pounds. This is my Bible that I had from 1973 to 1990. It's my Bible I had as a teenager and a young adult. It's a perfect travel Bible. So let me turn to Psalm 102, and we're going to talk about the new heavens and the new earth. Again, the Bible doesn't say very much. It says very little. There's just a few verses at the end of the book of Revelation, and then there are a few scriptures scattered throughout. Why is that? Well, I don't know, but I'll just say that the Bible gives us just enough to know kind of what is coming. And we just know it will be a time of bliss and a time of a beautiful, it will be a spiritual dimension. But before that happens, Psalm 102, verse 26 says, let's back up. Of old thou hast laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens are the work of thy hands. They shall perish, but thou shalt endure. So the heavens and the earth are going to perish, but the work. Let's see. They shall perish, but thou, that is Jehovah Elohim, shalt endure. Yea, all of them, that is the heavens and the earth, shall wax old like a garment, as a vesture shalt thou change them. God is going to change the heavens and the earth, and they shall be changed. But thou art the same, and thy years shall have no end. So, that's the first reference in the Bible to the new heavens and the new earth. Now let's go to Isaiah 51, verse 6. Isaiah 51, verse 6. This is an important message because this shows us what our ultimate destiny is. What those who believe in Yeshua the Messiah. Yes, at the resurrection, you will receive if your name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life, you will receive your glorified body. But then what happens after the 1,000-year millennium and then into eternity? So Isaiah 51 verse 6 says, lift up your eyes to the heavens and look upon the earth beneath, for the heavens shall vanish away like smoke, and the earth shall wax old like a garment, and they that dwell therein shall die in like manner. But my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished. So here we are seeing that that physical human beings will be burned up. They shall perish along with the physical earth and the physical heavens. Okay? Just keep that in mind. We're putting pieces of the puzzle together. So everything that you see around us is going to be burned up and destroyed. And I don't believe this is hyperbolic or metaphorical language, because the Bible indicates what's going to happen to unsaved people. We'll read about that. Like I say, we're starting at the back of the book, and we're going to kind of go backwards in the Bible a little bit. Matthew 24:35. This is Yeshua speaking, the Olivet prophecy. Matthew 24. We'll get there. Here we go. 24:35. Verily I say, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. So here Yeshua is just clearly stating the heavens and the earth are going to pass away. Why do you think that Yah is not going to keep the heavens and the earth? Well, the earth has been polluted by human beings in every conceivable way. Yes, there's still beautiful parts of the creation. A few days ago, my wife and I flew into Minnesota, into Minneapolis, en route to our children in North Dakota. But before we went there, we went up on the north shore of Lake Superior, the largest freshwater lake in the world. It supposedly contains 10% of all the fresh water on the planet Earth. And if it were emptied out, it would cover North America, or the United States, like several feet deep. That's how vast this lake is. Just Lake Superior itself, not the other Great Lakes. So we were going up the North Shore. It's a scenic byway, one of the most beautiful areas in the United States. Never been there before. We saw absolutely beautiful scenery, many waterfalls, and we took some short hikes, and it's beautiful along Lake Superior. If you ever had a chance to go there, I highly recommend it. And yet, Lake Superior, as pure and as pristine as that lake is, has about 400 shipwrecks in it, because it can get very stormy, and many ships have sunk in these storms. The ocean is full of microplastics. There are chemicals in DDT and other toxic pesticides in the tissues of the animals, and we have air pollution, and now we have junk up in space, space debris. Up on Mount Everest is literally a junk pile full of all kinds of filth and human waste, and we're doing fracking and putting stuff down to get oil out of the earth, down deep in the earth, all kinds of toxic solutions, and there's pesticides, and there's radioactive material, and there's all the roads that we drive on are concrete and steel, and the buildings. As beautiful as this earth is, it has been polluted and made very toxic in many respects, and the creation is not pure anymore. On top of that, much innocent blood has been spilled on this earth in the last 6,000 years. The earth has literally soaked up much blood through murder and war and abortion. and through all kinds of death and mayhem. And the earth cries out. It says that the earth cries out, speaks of the righteous blood of Abel, who was killed by Cain, the first murder in the Bible. And the earth is a witness against human beings. This is another reason the earth has to be destroyed. It is a witness. Remember, in a few places in the Bible, God says, I call heaven and earth to witness against you if you go against my covenants. He was talking to the children of Israel. If you go against my covenants, I witness against you, and the heavens witness against you, because you spoke these words. You said, I will remain faithful to your covenants. You spoke them into the atmosphere. The earth heard you. The rocks heard you. And these are a witness against your unfaithfulness to your promises that you made to keep my covenants. So I believe the earth has to be destroyed, not only because it has been polluted and been corrupted by human beings, and the innocent blood has been spilled, much blood, and that blood cries out. Just think of the blood of all the aborted babies and much else, the blood of the martyrs, those that have been martyred for the Bible and for the gospel's sake. But also the earth is witness to all the evil that God's people have done, and that people have done in general. So the earth as a witness is going to be destroyed. And Yah is going to make a new heavens and a new earth. Now, how is the earth going to be destroyed? Well, it's going to be destroyed by fire. By fire. And the Bible in several places talks about this. In the, let's read this. We read about the lake of fire that happens at the end of the millennium. Now, I told you that this is a message of hope. So it doesn't sound like this is much of a message of hope, but this is a message of hope for those who put their faith and their trust in Yeshua the Messiah, in those young people that will commit to follow him. There is a great future that awaits you in eternity, in the new heavens and the new earth. But before we get there, we have to understand why this message is important, and that this is part of the Bible and part of the gospel message. There is a lake of fire. In Christianity, it's called hellfire, but it's more than just burning forever in hell, in an everlasting hell. That is, something that, we're not going to discuss here because it's part of Christian fantasy. But there is a lake of fire that the wicked dead are going to go into. And in Revelation 20, you have to forgive me. I don't have my regular Bible with me. This is my alternative Bible, so it's a little harder to find things because I don't have things marked. But it says here about the lake of fire. And when, verse 7, Revelation 20, verse 7, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations, and so forth. And it says that they went up and God destroyed them, okay? And the devil that deceiveth them was cast into the lake of fire, verse 10, and fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet had been cast, and shall be tormented day and night forever. And then, verse 11, I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, whose face the earth and the heaven, at whose face the earth and heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead and small, great stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead, and the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, or in this case, the grave. And so all the people that have ever died will be raised up and stand before the judgment seat of Elohim, and they were judged, everyone according to their works. And those that were evil were cast into the lake of fire. And at verse 14, and death and hell were cast in the lake of fire. This is the second death, and whoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So this is a fire. You know, what type of fire is it? I don't know, but it's going to destroy people completely and totally. And we see some references to the lake of fire. Let's go back to Psalm 75, verse 3. It says here, that's 74. Let's go to 75. That might be helpful. And the earth and all the inhabitants thereof are dissolved, and I bear up the pillars of it. So here the psalmist is talking about the earth being dissolved and all the wicked, the inhabitants of it, who are not spirit beings, who have not received their spiritual bodies, will be dissolved or destroyed. Let's go over to 2 Peter 7. Not 2 Peter 7. There is no 2 Peter 7. 2 Peter, I didn't write down the chapter, but let me go and we'll get there. Again, I don't have my regular Bible with me, so it may take me a little bit longer. This is my old Bible, which I have not used in 20-some years. Maybe like 35 years, I guess. Time passes. 2 Peter, yes, it would be 2 Peter 3, verse 7. And the heavens and the earth, but the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. In other words, condemnation. And then verses 10 through 12. But the day of the Lord shall come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought you to be in holy conduct and godliness, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of Elohim, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. So this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is not, again, metaphorical language. This literally is going to happen at some point in time in the future. And if you do not know Yeshua as your Lord and Savior, your name is not written in the Lamb's Book of Life, then the lake of fire is your destination, and you will be cast into the lake of fire. And I believe it's that lake of fire that will burn everything up, including the earth. And it says in Malachi chapter, I think it's chapter 3 or chapter 4, that the righteous of the wicked shall be ashes under the feet of the righteous. Not something that you want to be your fate. John the Baptist in Matthew 3 verse 10 says, and now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees. Therefore every tree which bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. So he's giving us a basic spiritual principle here that, we're all like trees, and are we bearing good fruit or bad fruit? And any tree that does not bear good fruit will be cut off and be cast into the lake of fire, or will be burned up. Matthew 13 verse 40. Matthew 13 verse 40. And Yeshua said, this is the parable of the wheat and the tares. And the tares are gathered and burned in the fire. So shall it be in the end of this world. So people who do not bear fruit, people who maybe act being Christians, which is what the subject of the parable of the tares are, people that looked like being Christians and disciples of Yeshua, but were phonies. They did not bear the fruit. They will be cast into the lake of fire. Verse 42 says, And the Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom and the things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Not a good thing. Verse 50, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. So he goes in and gives some more parables about the kingdom of God, and all those who do wickedly will be cast into the lake of fire. And then we go to Matthew 25, verse 41. Matthew 25, 41. And this is the parable of the sheep and goats nations. And it says, and to the goats, he says, then shall he say unto them on the left side, that would be the goats, depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. So there is the lake of fire again, for those whose names are not written in the Lamb's book of life. And 46, verse 46 is Matthew 25, and these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous unto eternal life. So again, this is speaking about the white throne judgment. And then Zephaniah, that's not a book we turn to too often. Some of you may have a hard time even finding it. It's Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Habakkuk, Zephaniah. Zephaniah comes after Habakkuk. If you're having a hard time, and after that is Zechariah and Malachi. So it's the third to the last book at the end of the Bible, of the Old Testament. Zephaniah 3:8 says, was the Lord displeased against the rivers? Was thine anger against the rivers? And was thy wrath against the sea, that thou didst ride upon thine horses and thy chariots of salvation? I'm not exactly sure why I have this in here, but it sounds like maybe I put that in there because he's angry at, this physical creation. I'm not sure. I haven't read that passage in a while, so please forgive me. And then let's go to 2 Thessalonians 1, verse 8. And I didn't review this either. I'm not sure what this one says. I have a lot of notes, so I don't always go over everything perfectly. 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 8. Come on. It's a little Bible, and I got big fingers. First Thessalonians, let's put it on the table here. We'll get there. 1 Thessalonians, let me make sure it wasn't 2 Thessalonians. I did say 2 Thessalonians 5:8. There you go. I don't think there is a 2 Thessalonians 5:8. It must be 1 Thessalonians 5:8. I'm not sure what this has to do with it. No, 1:8. I'm sorry. I'm looking at something else. 1 Thessalonians 1:8. I need to adjust my glasses. In flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not, that obey not, that know not Elohim, and that obey not the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, who shall be punished with everlasting destruction from the presence of the Lord. So their punishment will be everlasting. In other words, it will be final. They will be destroyed forever. So this is what's going to happen at the lake of fire after the white throne judgment, just before the new heavens and the new earth emerge. Now, I want to speak to young people. I was young once, and I thought that, I was invincible. I thought that nothing could touch me. I thought that I would live forever. I thought that, I knew I wouldn't live forever, but it seemed like it. When you're 20, 18, 20, 25, it seems like, being old is like way off in the future. In fact, I remember when I turned 25, it really rattled my cage, because in another 25 years, I would be 50 years old. I thought, I'm so old. And here I am, almost 16 years past the 50, the half century mark. it's really easy to be, being youthful is a beautiful thing. In our Western society, and maybe other societies too, we epitomize youthfulness. People do everything they can to stay young looking. They do all kinds of plastic surgeries, and they get exercising, and they get, do physical fitness and aerobics and yoga and stretching and, whatever. And then they maybe go on healthful diets and try to do everything. And that's nothing wrong with that. But we all will die eventually. And I don't care who you are. And nobody is guaranteed to live a long life. We all know people that have died as babies, as children, as preteens, as teenagers. I had a nephew who died. He had a seizure and he drowned in the bathtub just short of his 18th birthday. I have known people that I was classmates with who died. Recently, my son had his best friend who he was going to have stand up with him in his wedding, died unexpectedly. And I've preached, I've been at funerals of people that were younger than me who died, or I've preached a funeral for somebody when I was a pastor of a church, somebody that died who was younger than me. It goes on. And you never know when you're going to die. So that's why this message is really should be a sobering message, even to those people who are young and think they have their whole life ahead of them. We are one heartbeat and one breath away from eternity. Never forget that. Every second, every breath of life, every heartbeat is a gift from Yehovah Elohim, the one who gives life and the one who takes life. Let's turn to Psalm 103, verse 15. Here's several scriptures that talk about the frailty, the fragility of life in very poetic terms. And I think that the older we get, and the older people listening to this message, you know what I'm talking about. Life is very fragile. I personally have faced death where I didn't think I was going to live a number of times. I've almost drowned about 3 or 4 times. I've almost been killed by avalanches in mountain climbing expeditions twice. I have had near misses, like probably everybody else, in automobiles where people, if I'd been a split second differently, I would have probably been killed in an automobile accident. And afterwards, you realize how close you came, and you realize that probably there was an angel protecting you. As an arborist, I've climbed tens of thousands of trees in the last 40 years, and longer than that, actually. I have come very close thinking that I maybe was going to die in a 100 feet off the ground in a dangerous tree situation, or trees that I've been taking down, or branches that have broken out underneath me, or whatever. I realize it's by His grace that I'm still alive, even talking to you right now. I've had so many close calls. I could go on and on and on. And many of you know people, or maybe you have faced these kinds of things yourself, where you just know that your life is a miracle, that you're even still alive. So Psalm 103 verse 15 says, "As for man, his days are as grass, as a flower of the field, so he flourishes. For the wind passes over it, and it is gone, and the place thereof shall know it no more. But the mercy of Yehovah is from everlasting to everlasting upon them that fear him, and his righteousness unto his children's children, to such as keep his covenant, and to those that remember his covenants, his commandments, to do them. For as man his days are as grass, and as a flower of the field, so he flourishes. And the wind passes over it, and it is gone, and the place thereof shall know it no more." Psalm 90, verse 5. Psalm 90, a few pages back, Psalm 90, verse 5. For 1,000 years, verse 4, for 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the night. To Elohim, your life, my life is but just a snap of the fingers. Just like that. In fact, this whole world, thousands of years like that to him, because he's outside of time. For us, it seems like an eternity. Verse 5, thou carriest them away as with a flood. They are as asleep in the morning. They are like grass which groweth up. In the morning it flourisheth and groweth up. In the evening it is cut down and withereth. For we are consumed by thine anger, and by thy wrath are we troubled. So, you know, each of us better be on the right side of Elohim. Otherwise, we can be cut down. And that's the end of that. Oh, yeah. Look at my note. Isaiah 40, verse 6. Isaiah 40. Isaiah 40. 40, verse 6. 6 through 8. There, the voice said, cry, and he said, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, all the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the Spirit of the Lord bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, but the word of our God shall stand forever. What is the lesson here? The lesson is that our lives are flimsy and frail. You know, we've just gotten done celebrating the Feast of Tabernacles. And yes, the Feast of Tabernacles is a prophetic picture of the Millennium, a time of great bliss and peace on earth, goodwill toward men, when Yeshua will rule over this earth, and his glorified saints will co-rule with him as his bride, ruling and reigning and bringing in a vast harvest of souls into the kingdom of heaven prior to the final judgment. But the Feast of Tabernacles also signifies something else very, very important. When the children of Israel came out of Egypt, the Exodus, they lived in tents. And because of their sin of doubt and unbelief, because of their hard-heartedness, they were made to wander in the wilderness for 40 years before being able to enter into the promised land. And while they were in the wilderness, they lived in tents. How many of you have lived in tents? How many of you have actually spent time in a tent? It's a very, very flimsy structure. I have owned many tents in my lifetime, and I've spent many, many days living in tents. As a backpacker, as a camper, as a hiker, as a mountain climber, I've been in tents. Also at Sukkot, I've lived in tents. And when the wind is howling out there, and when it's raining, and it is maybe snowing and ice, and I have been in snow and ice in tents. I have been in water on the sides of mountains where water is rushing around my tents. And if I didn't build a good ditch around it, it was flowing through my tent. I've been in tents on the side of mountains where the wind blew my tent over, and the only thing that held the tent from blowing away was my weight, my dog's weight, and the weight of my backpack. It's a long night when that happens. Well, a tent in Jewish thought is a picture of our lives. In Hebrew, a tent is called a sukkah. That's where the term Sukkot comes from. It's the plural of sukkah. It literally means the Feast of Tents, or the Feast of Tabernacles, or the Feast of Booths. And the Israelites were commanded to make, they lived in tents, but they were also commanded to make little huts out of tree branches and poles, and to spend time during the Feast of Tabernacles living in these little tents and little temporary dwellings. And one of the things that the Jewish sages teach, and I think it's a really good lesson, is that we are on this earth for a short period of time. We're living in the tent, the sukkah of our bodies. Life is very fragile. We are really tough beings. As human beings, we're very adaptable. I have been in Alaska. I've been in North Country in the Arctic Circle. I have been in the Antarctic. I have been in Northern Europe, the furthest north, up in the top of Norway, where it's very, very difficult to live. It's cold. I've been in the mountains. I've been in the Alps. I've been in deserts. I've been all over in many, many places where human beings have adapted. But life still is very fragile. You can, go without food or water or without air, or you can bleed out real quickly, and you can die very quickly. Life is a very thin thread. A bullet or a wound, if you don't get medical attention right away or whatever, you're dead. And this is the lesson of the Feast of Tabernacles. As we are going through the wilderness of life, life is like a wilderness. It's like an inhospitable wilderness. There's cold, there's heat, there's wild animals, there's serpents and snakes. Sometimes it's hard to find food or water. And we are pilgrims who are passing through en route to the promised land of our spiritual inheritance, which is what the physical promised land is a type of. Ultimately, it is the Millennium, the New Jerusalem, and the new heavens and the new earth beyond that. For those who will be overcomers, overcome the world, the flesh, and the devil, overcome all the temptations and the pulls of the flesh, overcome sin, and take the journey and the trek with Yeshua the Messiah, who will lead the way. He's the ladder. He's the way, the truth, and life. He's the ladder to heaven. He's the way to the Father. He's the way into eternity. And without him, there is no salvation. There is no redemption. There is no deliverance from the death penalty called sin. And so the Feast of Tabernacles is a picture of that, passing through. It's our past, it's our present, and it's also our future, in that it points to the millennium, and then Shemini Atzeret points to the new heavens and the new earth beyond that. So this is the hope for all of us. And this is the hope for you young people who think that you have your life all ahead of you, and I can party now, and I can play now, and I can pursue money and pursue the lusts of the flesh and the lusts of eyes. And I'm not saying enjoy life, don't enjoy, in the fruits of your labor. But when we make those things our gods, and we make these things the goal of our life, we might get to the end of our life and not have much, or have nothing. Okay? So this is where I kind of want to begin to wrap this message up. And then we'll talk a little bit about the millennium. But let's go over to, and this is an urgent plea from an older man, a father, and a grandfather to young people who I love. I hire young people to work for me in my company. I have young people in my life. I'm older. My wife and I had our children a little bit later in life. Right now, I'm 60, going on almost 66, and I have a 26-year-old, my youngest, and my oldest is 32. So they're young. My youngest could almost be my grandchild. In fact, he could have been very easily. So I'm surrounded by young people, and I love young people, and I want to nurture them and encourage them. But each person has to catch this message for himself or herself, and has to hear the heart of this older man and hear the heart of our Father in heaven for his beautiful children that he's created in his own image. And everyone has to listen and catch this message for himself or herself and decide, am I going to choose this way? Am I going to choose this way? Am I going to choose the upward path or the downward path? Or am I just going to act like there is no choice? Well, let me tell you, to not make a choice is to make a choice. To not make a choice for Elohim, and I don't care what the devil has lied to you or the world, but to not make a choice for Yehovah Elohim is to make a choice for the highway to hell. To not make a choice for Yeshua the Messiah, Jesus Christ, is to make a choice for the world, the flesh, and the devil. It's to make a choice for the path of death. I don't care if you believe this or not. I don't care if you think that what I'm saying is totally a joke. Let me just tell you this. There are enough books worth of well-documented experiences of people that have had near-death experiences, well-documented by medical doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists and experts who near-death experiences or pre-death experiences where they saw into the other side. They saw what awaited them, either the good or the bad. Whole books have been written about this and well documented. So don't dismiss this casually as just an old man talking out of the top of his hat. To do so is to do so at one's own risk. Let me read what Solomon said. Solomon, the wealthiest and the wisest man who ever lived. Certainly the wisest. There's some pretty wealthy people nowadays. I don't know if Solomon was that wealthy, but he was pretty wealthy. He says, Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 9. Rejoice, O young man, in thy youth, and let thy heart cheer with thee in the days of thy youth, and walk in the ways of thine heart, and in the sight of thine eyes. Yes, enjoy youth. Enjoy the blessings of a body that works and a body that doesn't have aches and pains and a body that, you're not having to go to the bathroom 25 times a day and, and muscles that work and don't ache and your eyesight and your hearing is acute and, you can climb mountains and hike and backpack and do all kinds of things. Rejoice. You can, live life to the fullest. But know that for all these things God will bring thee into judgment. Therefore remove sorrow from thine heart, and put away evil from thy flesh, for childhood and youth are vanity. Oh, childhood and youth are vanity. So much pride, so much selfishness, so much arrogance, like, I know it all. I don't need to listen to the voices of wisdom. I don't need to listen to the voices of those people who've gone before me, my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, older people that also were young like me. And maybe I can learn from their mistakes. Maybe I can learn from their wisdom and their experience and their understanding and their knowledge. Maybe. But no. We think we know it all. We want to go off and do our own thing. And when somebody tries to come along who's a little bit older, I don't want to hear what they have to say because, you know what? I got it figured out. And I am better than they are. And anyway, whatever. All the excuses. Chapter 12, Ecclesiastes 12, verse 1. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, You're feeble and wobbly, walking with a cane or a walker. And thy strong men shall bow down themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few. In other words, your teeth have fallen out. You can't even enjoy good food, a good steak, because you lost your teeth. And those that look out the windows be darkened. Your eyesight is dimmed. And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of grinding is low, and he shall rise up, and the voice of the bird and all the daughters of the music shall be brought low. In other words, your hearing is going, hearing loss. And they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be burdened. In other words, you're afraid to step out the door, afraid that you might twist your ankle or break your hip, and so you're walking very carefully. You can't run anymore. You can't walk. You have to have somebody help you, and those days are coming for most people. It says here in verse 6, or ever the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. In other words, life is like a fragile, thin thread, a silver thread that's easily broken, kind of like a spider's web, or like a bowl that's sitting on the edge of a cistern or a well that can easily be knocked over and cracked to pieces. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, all is vanity. Emptiness is literally what it's saying. All is emptiness. Moreover, because the preacher, well, let me skip down here. He says, verse 11, the words of the wise are as goads and as nails, fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. In other words, listen to the words of the wise. And further, by these, my son, be admonished, of making many books there is no end, and much study is weariness of the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God, keep his commandments, for this is the whole of man, the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work unto judgment, whether secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be bad. And then elsewhere in Ecclesiastes it says, enjoy life. Enjoy the fruits of thy labor. Enjoy I think it's in the proverb, the wife of your youth. Enjoy your children. Enjoy the work of your hands. Enjoy doing a good job, whatever your occupation, your profession is. Enjoy good food and good drink, and rejoice. But don't forget what life is all about, where it is going, and what the ultimate fate is of all people who walk in foolishness as opposed to wisdom. So, what do we have to look forward to? In conclusion, what do we have to look forward to? And I covered this a little bit in part 1 of this teaching, but we have a great hope, a great hope. Isaiah had a lot to say about this. He talked about the millennium, which would then eventually go into the new heavens and the new earth. But in Isaiah, and I'm going to go through these really quickly, but Isaiah chapter 2 and Zechariah 14, he talks about that the mountain of Jehovah shall be established over all the hills. In other words, Jehovah's government, Yeshua will be King of Kings over all the governments of the world, all the hills, all the capitals of the world. Satan will be gone, and Yeshua will be ruling. There will be no more war. Swords will be beaten into plowshares. Tanks and missiles, they're going to be turned, either destroyed or turned, to be used for good purposes. Aircraft, instead of bombing people, they'll be whatever. I don't know what it's going to be like, but these will be used for good purposes. Isaiah 4 verses 2 through 6 talks about a glory cloud will be over every dwelling place in Zion. So those who live in the area of Jerusalem during the millennium will literally have, the saints who live around Jerusalem will have a glory cloud, just like over the tabernacle of Moses. they will have a glory cloud over their house. So then all the people in the world come up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles in Jerusalem, like Zechariah talks about, they will see the glory of Yehovah. In fact, the sun, it will be so bright shining in Jerusalem, you will not even be able to see the sun. The sun, there will be no shadows. The glory of Yeshua, we talked about this in a previous video. The new Jerusalem will be hovering over the earth, and the Yeshua will be living in the New Jerusalem, and the sun will be shining forth. The sun of Yeshua, the radiance of Yeshua's face will be shining like the sun and will bathe Jerusalem in sunlight, so that there will be no shadows, no night, no darkness over that area. So when people come up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles there in the temple that will be built on the Temple Mount during the Millennium, there will be no shadows. It will be total translucent light shining everywhere, to emphasize the fact that Yeshua is the Son of Righteousness, Yeshua, and He is the light of the world. This will be a tremendous, tremendous witness to all people. The chapter 11, Yeshua is called the Prince of Peace, and of the increase of His government there shall be no, this is chapter 9, there will be no end. He will rule with a rod of iron. He will rule as a loving shepherd, as the Prince of Peace. Isaiah chapter 11 talks about the lion and the lamb and the wolf, and they shall lie down together, and the child shall lead them. In other words, there will not be wild beasts, whether it be human beasts or physical beasts, killing and rampaging and destroying and causing death. The world will not be a place of fear. The glory of Yehovah, chapter 11, will cover, Isaiah 11, will cover the earth as a knowledge. The glory of Yehovah will cover, the earth will be full of the knowledge of Yehovah as the waters cover the sea. Yeshua, Isaiah 24 and Ezekiel 37, Yeshua shall reign from Mount Zion there in Jerusalem. Isaiah 25, death shall be swallowed up and all tears shall be wiped away. Isaiah 27, non-Israelites nations shall come up and worship Yehovah in His holy mountain in Jerusalem. They'll be making pilgrimages and learning about Yeshua and taking what they've learned back to the nations wherever they came from. It will be a time when many people will be saved. Isaiah 35, many people will be saved. Physical people who have not received their glorified bodies will have a chance to be granted salvation during the millennium. During the millennium, Yeshua will gather the redeemed lost sheep of the house of Israel. He's already doing that now, but He will complete the task. Those Israelites that have intermarried and scattered around the earth will be regathered and will be brought into a salvation relationship with Him. The wealth of the Gentiles, Isaiah chapter 60, will be stored up for the Israelites. The wealth, the Gentiles are going to honor and give a dignity to and honor to Israelites, to the Jews and the other Israelites. The Bible says this in Isaiah chapter 60. Isaiah 62, Jerusalem and Israel shall be the praise of the earth, and Yehovah shall be married to the land of Israel. So, there's a lot of conflicts going on in the Middle East right now, but that's going to come to an end, and it's going to be a place of peace and prosperity and beauty. And then we read about Isaiah 65, about the new heavens and the new earth prophesied with longevity of life and general blessings upon everybody. Let's turn to that one. Isaiah 65. Isaiah 65. Almost the end of the book of Isaiah. Verse 17. For behold, I create a new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come to mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days, nor the child shall die, for the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble. For they are the seed of the blessed of Jehovah, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are, pardon me, yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like a bullock, and the dust shall be the serpent's meat, and they shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountains, saith Jehovah. So let me ask you this. What are you going to put your faith in? Are you going to believe the Bible, the word of Elohim? Or are you going to put your faith in yourself? In another man or a woman? In a philosophy? What, in socialism? Or Marxism? Or social democracy? Or if you're in America, you think the Republicans or the Democrats are going to bring peace on earth, goodwill toward men? Or if we just get out the vote and vote righteous people in, that somehow the world is going to be changed? What is it, the United Nations? Or the New World Order? Or the World Economic Forum? Or Lucifer or Satan? Or Islam? Or Buddhism? Or Hinduism? Are you going to put your faith in the Catholic Church? The Pope? In Joseph Smith? In Mary Baker Eddy? Charles Taze Russell? Or in Ellen G. White? Or in any other man or woman? Or in some philosophy? Like you got your own brand of spirituality and all paths lead to God, and I'm just going to make up my own spiritual whatever, and if I throw enough mud up against the barn wall, some of it may stick and I might get from here to there, somehow past the veil of death. You know, I've lived long enough to examine all of those things that I just mentioned, every single one of them, and to study them and to see the results of those philosophies and religious isms and all that in the world. And I've seen that they don't bring anything. They don't bring joy, peace, and happiness, and they certainly don't bring eternal life. This is a decision and something that each person has to make for himself. But consider the hope that the God of the Bible, who loved you enough to send his Son to die for your sins, has set before us. And for those that know Yeshua as their Messiah, they know the blessedness and the joy and the peace. Yes, they have difficulties. Yes, we all have to go through this life. But there's a reward and a blessing. And that's what the wall that I'm leaning my ladder up against. That is the rock that I'm building my house on. That's what I'm having faith in. Because it's true Christians, the lives that they live, the good that they have done, the message of the cross, the message of Yeshua the Messiah, those who know that and have embraced that, they are the happiest, most joyful, most abundant, most blessed people and the most hopeful people on this earth. And Yah, Yehovah Elohim, has given us a taste of that and revealed this to us. And we have a sure and a certain faith and a hope that His word will come to pass. There's nothing else on this earth that offers that. Think about it. And I hope you make the right choice. You will not be sorry. May Yehovah bless you and guide you.